Imagine the moon, Apollo 11 landing site, and standing there not just astronauts but Shakespeare, Jane Austen, Cervantes, Rumi, even African griots and shamans. Sounds like the weirdest TED Talk ever, right? Well, it gets even stranger because they're all gathered to discuss how messed up our world is. From wars to capitalism to why humans can't stop destroying everything they touch. And guess what? You're invited to sit in on the conversation. Buckle up, because this is one poetic ride through space, time, and some heavy ideas. So here's how it all starts. The setting, the moon. Yes, the moon. And not just any old crater, but the Apollo 11 landing site. Humanity once went there to plant a flag, but now it's hosting the ultimate literary summit. The Greek god Apollo and his 9 muses, because why not, have summoned the greatest poets from East and West to a celestial parliament. The goal? To figure out the meaning of modernity and address the train wreck that is our current world. And trust me, the guest list is wild. Cervantes, Dufour, Lipo, Vyasa, Tagore, Basho, Saigyo, Rumi, Attar, Shakespeare, Samuel Johnson, Keats, Wordsworth, Jane Austen, African griots and shamans, Balafaseke, even Merlin and Job. Yes, that Job. Basically, if you've ever been forced to memorize their work for an exam, they're here. Enter the main guy, the poet of the moon. He's basically our tour guide through this intergalactic brainstorming session. But first, let's set the tone. This isn't your typical stiff, boring, epic poem where every line sounds like it was designed to put you to sleep. No, this thing flows. Smooth language, modern concerns, and a sense of urgency that makes you realize, yeah, humanity is really on the edge. Book 1 kicks things off with some serious talk. The poets are deeply concerned about the clash between science and religion. Not because one is wrong and the other is right, but because science, instead of being a noble quest for knowledge, is now another capitalist venture. It's like, hey, let's mine the earth until it's dust. And then, when that's done, let's go loot the moon. Cervantes, our guy who gave us Don Quixote, drops a fiery warning.
And must not cede it to wayward scientists and plunderers of the earth, who would extend their selfish exploitations throughout the universe, debasing everything.
Translation? Humans can't even keep one planet clean, and now they want to colonize space with their mess. Samuel Johnson chimes in, basically saying, well, what do you expect from scientists who lack a vision worthy of humanity? Ouch. Shots fired. At this point, the parliament agrees. Death has kind of elevated poets to divine status, so they're now like gods trying to save humans from, well, themselves. And who's going to take the message back to Earth? Our poet, the poet of the moon, basically says, here am I, send me, channeling those Isaiah 6:8 vibes. So yeah, no pressure. But before heading off, our poet asks the big question.
What do you advise? Tyrannies and oppressors, Marxists and fascists we've already had. Only madmen would want to go back to anything like that, and yet order erodes, deteriorates, moral decline and decadence deepen. A slough of despond draws in everything. Empire grows, looms, corporate plutocracy, oligarchies and billionaires with no commitment to any nation or people.
Basically, he's saying, okay, dictators were bad, but now we have corporate plutocracy, billionaires running the show with zero loyalty to anyone but themselves. How is this progress? Virgil, because of course Virgil is here, answers with the classic advice, know thyself. Which honestly is the poet's way of saying, we're screwed, but self-awareness might help. He does toss in a tiny sliver of hope. Men are talking to men, and that's better than nothing. And that's where book 1 leaves us. On a note that's not exactly cheerful, but not totally doom and gloom either. Now let's fast forward to book 11, one of my favorite sections. Why? Because this is where the poet travels to Africa. And who takes him there? None other than Ezeulu, the priest of Umuachala and Ani, the earth goddess from Chinua Achebe's Arrow of God. Yes, Achebe's character literally shows up in this moonlit parliament to represent Africa. Honestly, I love this crossover. It's like the Avengers, but for literature. So Ezeulu takes the poet on a flight across Africa, looking down on its landscapes. The poet wants to know the truth about Africa, beyond the headlines and stereotypes that the West loves to serve. And then, bam, epiphany moment.
And then I knew he was one of each of us.
Meaning, Africans aren't these distant others. They're human, fully human, just like everyone else. Revolutionary idea, right?
Good one!
And then comes one of the most powerful lines in the entire poem.
All the shades and hues were in his dusky, ochre-covered body, his genome at root, its base and stem, from which we've grown. Not a mere ape in a tree, or climbing down from one, but upright and thinking, trying at least more than many of us today.
Basically, Africa is humanity's birthplace. We all share this root. Once they land, Ezeulu schools the poet on Igbo philosophy. He explains the concept of chi, that each person at birth chooses their destiny and must live by that choice.
You choose and agreed. You must keep choosing or you'll end up a priest of a dead god, disgraced by his own actions in the eyes of his people, pushed aside by them, not heeded. Sacrifice yourself for their good, serve them.
It's deep and ironic because that's exactly what happened to Ezeulu in Arrow of God. But the lesson is clear. Leadership is about service, not greed. Contrast that with today's African leaders who seem more interested in looting than leading. Ezeulu is basically side-eyeing them from the afterlife. And then Ezeulu drops another truth bomb.
Now I understand we can all be angels or savages, choose the heart of darkness if we lose the human heart of the people, become cold to human suffering, not our own.
Chills. Absolute chills. The poet uses this to slam selfish leaders and remind us that humanity is a choice we're failing at miserably. Just when you think it can't get any heavier, Sogolan, the mother of Sundiata, shows up like some mythical auntie with the ultimate prophecy. She warns of a time when people will abandon community for greed, sell the land to foreigners, and spiral into chaos.
Woe to a time that forgets the measure of man, for then people fall to the darkest depths, and not even I could defend myself against attackers with all my herbs and potions.
And then, fast-forward vision, Africa plunges into wars over minerals and oil while spiritual values evaporate. Sound familiar? Yeah, this prophecy isn't sci-fi, it's basically history on repeat. This mind-bending journey I've been talking about, it's from The Parliament of Poets by Frederick Glaysher. Yep, an epic poem published in 2012. Yes, an epic poem in our age of TikTok attention spans. And guess what? It works. So here's the thing. I went into this expecting something dense and hard to chew. I thought I'd need a PhD and 2 dictionaries just to get through the first page. But nope, the language flows. It's elegant without being pretentious. And the topics? Absolutely relevant. Clash of science and religion, environmental destruction, consumerism, loss of morality, the meaning of modernity, even race and identity. The central idea? Unity and diversity. The poem draws on the Buddhist concept of Itai Doshin and the African philosophy of Ubuntu. I am because we are. The poet dreams of a world where science and religion aren't enemies, where material and spiritual balance, and where humanity prioritizes, well, humanity. And honestly, this book proves something crucial. Epic poetry isn't dead. If anything, in an age of chaos and noise, we might need it more than ever. Frederick Glaysher is an American poet and writer who clearly said, you know what? The modern world needs an epic. And he didn't just write one. He wrote a 294-page masterpiece pulling voices from across time and space to have this grand conversation about what it means to be human today. Ambitious? Absolutely. But he pulled it off. So if you're up for something bold, thought-provoking, and surprisingly readable for an epic poem, give this one a shot. It's not just literature, it's an experience. And trust me, after reading it, you'll never look at the moon or humanity the same way again. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.